next 85-86, the Leafs were so freaking close to going to the conference finals against the Flames. Oh, beat the Oilers on a Steve Smith own goal, but that's another story. It's not related. 57 points, fourth in the division. Only two teams did worse than the Leafs in the year, and the Leafs nearly went to the conference finals. Anyway, this looks good. They won a playoff series for the first time in 7 years, defeating the Blackhawks before the Blues got them in Game 7. Rick Vaive lost his captaincy, and 3 years later, we got another captain, Rob Ramage. But the fact is, it's the longest a Leaf team has gone without a captain. 3 years, and that will be broken by Dion Phaneuf. Well, this year, anyway, for a couple of years since Sundin left. Anyway, we once had Marion Stastny. Did you not know that? And we picked up Marion Stastny and Don Edwards that year. Don Edwards, one of the best Kitchener goalies ever. Don't forget that. Ken Reggett, not that good. Don Edwards, 12-23-0, not bad. We picked up Vincent Damphousse, 6th overall from Laval. What a draft pick. He actually won the 91 All-Star Game MVP as a member of the Leafs. Anyway, 329 points in 394 games as a Leaf. Then he got dealt to Edmonton in a 7-player deal. The deal included such names as Grant Fuhr, Greg Berube, Scott Boren, Peter Ing, Luke Richardson, and Glenn Anderson. No, sorry, Luke Richardson and Glenn Anderson. Ha! And of course we all know Glenn Anderson went to the 94 Rangers, but that's another story. Anyway, the next year was 86-87, and 32 wins for the Leafs, the most in a while. Again, fourth in the North. Again, a trip to the conference finals, denied in Game 7 of the division final. And if you saw my video, you saw the Red Wings win Game 7, a shutout by Greg Stepan. Who the hell is he? John Brophy becomes our coach. Remember, he was the inspiration for Paul Newman's character in Slapshot. Anyway, there were some problems because after the year, the 7th pick was Luke Richardson, who I mentioned when in that trade. Richardson from the Peterborough Petes. The problem was there were some good guys like Joe Sakic, John LeClair, and Matthew Schneider still available. Sakic went to Quebec. LeClair went to Montreal. Yes, LeClair went to Montreal. And Schneider was drafted by Montreal as well. Sheesh. Anyway, Toronto beat first place St. Louis. And Glenn Hanlon. I thought it was Greg Stepan who pitched the show. No, it was Hanlon. They were close. They took a 3-1 series lead against the Red Wings. Anyway, Detroit polished us in 7. Stastny, of course, went to Switzerland. Pretty much nothing good has happened. And of course, Richardson. 87-88, 21 wins, pathetic. Only one team did worse than the Leafs in 88, and I believe that was Minnesota, if I can figure that out. Yes, it was Minnesota, because they got the #1 pick in Mike Modano, who's going to retire. The best North Star / Dallas Star in history. Anyway, they lost to Detroit in the first round. Not their fault. Anyway, they went through 4 different GMs: Jerry McNamara, John Brophy, Dick Duff, and Gord Stellick. Gord Stellick was only 30 freaking years old when he took over. Jeesh. Anyway, McNamara made a strange trade. He sent the first 50-goal scorer of Leaf history, Rick Vaive, along with McGill and Steve Thomas, to the Blackhawks for Eddie Olczyk and Al Secord. Okay, Olczyk was okay. We traded him to Winnipeg for Dave Ellett back in 91. Anyway, Secord was just a hack. So that trade didn't go anywhere. Olchak did lead the team in 88. Anyway, Ken Reggett, 12, 35, and 4. Despite that, he was tied for 7th and shutouts with 2. Alan Bester wasn't much better, 8, 12, and 5. Ty Domi was even drafted by a second round from Peterborough, 196 points as a Leaf, 2,265 penalty. Imagine that. That is the equivalent of about 35, 36 hours, give or take, consecutively in the bin. And finally, 88, 89, the end of the story chapter of the 80s. Keep in mind, 89, 90 has a 90s team, so that's good. Anyway, that was the year things fell apart. But the Leafs win 28 games and they don't make the playoffs. Only 2 teams did worse. I believe Quebec was one of them, perhaps, and oh dear, I don't know the other team off by heart. The coach, Brophy, retired, and George Armstrong was the coach. Yes, the Chief was coaching the Leafs back in 88, 89. Gord Stellick made a horrible deal. It was Russ Cornell for John Kordic. Kordic, of course, was given number 27, and of course Frank Mahovlich and Daryl Sittler had that claim number, spoiling the number, and then we all know what happened to Cardinals. Anyway, Reggett got traded to Philly for a pair of first-round picks, giving the Leafs 3 first-round picks. Can you imagine? 3 first-round picks, that's not easy. Of course, we lost Dave Semenko. I didn't know we had Semenko. And of course, we got a good penalty killer by the name of Dave Reed back in 88 before he went to Boston 3 years later. Alan Bester, 17, 20, and 3, not bad. But the problem was the draft. The draft. 3 first-round picks, and we dropped 3 people from the same team, and it was from Belleville. Scott Thornton, Rob Pearson, and Steve Bancroft. I don't believe it. Anyway, according to Westwood Washington, and that's all I have to say for the 1980s. Stay tuned. There will be more panic, including me dissing Harold Ballard. The trades of horror, such as getting rid of Brad Boyes and Tuukka Rask, among others. And is it true? Am I wearing woman's panties? Wait a minute. That's not true. So if you think it's true, you, at least